Good day everyone. In the news now is an article that came out yesterday, but I already put out 2 videos, so I decided that I'll cover it today because it's quite significant. This has been a problem for some time and has been hidden by the mainstream media. But now in News 24, you know, when something goes to court, you can't hide it anymore and it becomes very interesting. And the headline for the article reads, "Empty-handed Treasury can't pay wage increases, but it can't walk away that easy. The court hears." So there's a court case ongoing now by government workers. They were given a 3-year increase basis on their salaries, where every year there would be a certain increase. Government agreed to this, cabinet agreed to this, and now they want to go back on what they had agreed with the government workers, and they're going to use the COVID-19 pandemic, as they call it, to try and get away with not giving these public workers their wages. Now, I'm not picking sides in this fight. It's very disconcerting that our government is running out of funds for the stability of the country, but they had it coming. When you go and lock people down and you force them out of business, how are they going to pay you taxes when you don't deliver services and people don't want to pay you taxes? How do you expect to keep on paying this overinflated government that's being created, this communist government that's being created? Let me continue with the sub-headlines. Government can't afford pay increases this year to state employees, the Labour Appeal Court has heard. Unions, however, want government to fulfill its obligations to a 3-year wage agreement, even if it means establishing a retrospective payment arrangement. So they're happy for those payments to be made later when more money comes in. What all these people that work for government need to realize is that it's us, the taxpayers of South Africa, that pay their salaries. You work for us, and you need to accept the fact that if government does something to stop us from earning an income, that you are not going to get paid. Make peace with that. You wanted to work for government. Judges raised concerns that the COVID-19 pandemic may have impacted government's ability to afford increases. Don't blame what you call a COVID-19 pandemic. Blame your actions, your regulations you've implemented on businesses. It's very clever how they disguise the fact that they are to blame, that they made the decisions that shut down the economy unnecessarily, in my opinion. And I can base that on facts. The COVID-19 pandemic has severely impacted government's fiscal position, making it impossible to pay increases for public sector workers this year, a court has heard. I can tell you that they have that little money in the fiscus at this stage that they are phoning tax, SARS. They're phoning large companies to ask them if they'll be paying their pay as you earn on time. Because if they don't, government will not be able to pay basic salaries. The Labour Appeals Court on Wednesday heard the arguments of public sector unions who are seeking a court order to implement salary increases for the final year 2020 of a 3-year wage agreement signed in 2018, and that was all over the news at the time. Government reneged on the agreement this year as part of a plan to slash the state's wage bill by 160 billion over the next 3 years. And as I've said before, 58 cents of every tax rand goes towards government salaries. This is an absolute disgrace. Judge Dennis Davis, Violet Patsuane, and Philip Coppen heard that the COVID-19 pandemic had added different expenditure pressures to government, which now has to focus on alleviating the plight of the vulnerable and saving lives and livelihoods. All that happened is that your friends and family looted the so-called COVID pandemic funds and made a fortune. Just remember, when there's disaster, there are certain people that are making a killing financially because of the way the system is set up currently, and this is why we need direct elections. Treasury's lawyer advocate Jeremy Gauntlet plainly put forward that Treasury's hands are empty. Empty, nothing inside. Okay? Advocate Chris Orr, representing the Public Servants Association, however, said that Treasury is bound by the agreement, as the Minister of Finance was part of the Cabinet meeting, which ultimately approved the proposals for it. Judge Davis pointed out that circumstances have changed over the past 3 years given the pandemic, which caused a near collapse of the economy. It's very pathetic for him to actually take that point and actually see the pandemic as real as a judge. He's not supposed to make statements on that. He's actually giving away the fact that he believes that this declared pandemic is real. In response, Orr cited Treasury in saying it could afford the wage increase, but it would require retrenchments. That is unlikely to happen, and the parties may have to be forced back to the negotiating table. Now, our government has their own overinflated staffing, and certainly that has to change in future. And in the future I envisage for this country, firstly, the size of government, cabinet, the elected officials will have to change completely, but also the competence levels of the people in government. Do they actually deserve these wages that they are receiving? And you know, with the state of the country currently, it makes it difficult with evidence to prove that you are actually earning those salaries. Advocate Ngwako Manyete, who was representing 3 unions, argued that the decision by government not to honor the agreement is not purely because of COVID-19. The country had been downgraded to junk status prior to the pandemic, and we've been downgraded by 2 more ratings agencies since, even further. He pleaded with the court not to allow government to walk away entirely from its obligations. Manyete said a remedy would be for the court to order the parties to renegotiate an appropriate dispensation. Renegotiate what? Our government is not at the negotiating seat with anything. They are dictating at this stage. The next headline says scot-free. National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union lawyer advocate William Mokare similarly argued that government should not be allowed to get off scot-free and it must fulfill its obligations. This could involve making retrospective payment arrangements to workers. Mokare said the government had not played with open cards about its ability to afford increases by first trying to challenge the legality of the wage agreement. Now that is pathetic, really. The fact that you are challenging the very wage agreement that you have agreed to. He said the fact that all relevant ministers were at the cabinet meeting, including the president, meant there was full compliance when the decision to approve it when the offer was made. When asked how well, that is 100% correct, because that is the presidential executive right there. When asked how the unprecedented circumstances brought on by the pandemic might impact the fulfillment of the agreement, Mokare said, the court should still encourage the state to respect its obligations. Now, courts aren't there for encouragement, they are there to rule on things. That makes clear that this lawyer does not understand how things work. He said that allowing government to walk away from the agreement because of COVID-19 could be likened to allowing people to walk away from their debt obligations. South Africa is a young democracy still finding its way to full compliance. The state should be leading by example, said Mokare. Judgment is reserved. Now, in arguments like that, you cannot get into emotions. You need to stick to the hard facts. It's as simple as that. And I will keep you updated as to what comes out of this. Now, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Click the bell icon to receive notifications for videos. And thank you to all of you that have contributed towards the 00 Days meetings and tour. And like I said before, we still need to go to the Northern Cape and the Northwest Province, and we'll be doing most of the Western Cape in the meantime. While we are here and we're setting up meetings as we go along, I'll be having a meeting in Constantia on Saturday, and I'm really looking forward to that. And once again, thank you to all of those people that have contributed towards this tour. If you want to make a small contribution, please go to the description below the video, as well as the first comment, and you'll find the 00 Days Capitec banking details there. Thank you very much. Till the next video.